Cavecast, the uncensored show for nerds of all kinds.
So it's one time the alien stuck his finger in my ass. No,
Whoa, okay. And that's the beginning of the podcast. No. It has been a couple weeks since we've been able to hop on here and to have a conversation. Lots of life stuff has happened. Last podcast we did was all it said was Eric is leaving, which, that was partially because it was like, no, we knew you guys would click on it, but also because it is the truth. It's the truth. You were not leaving the channel, you're leaving the home. It's like because you have a new place to live, and it's been in like an interesting road like leading up to that because like you and I had many conversations of like standing in the kitchen of like all right, well, how long is this this thing gonna last? Of like being able to do what we do, things like that. But as it's happened, and it was weird because like the day that you moved out, the day before you moved out, I went on my vacation and was out of state, so it was kind of like coming home and this mentality of like, wow, like everything's different, like not like everything's different, but it was like you and Thor are gone, and it was like not having those presences in the house anymore. It was kind of jarring where it was just my boys, I was like, oh, like what's up, guys? And it was interesting to sleep that night because it was actually me laying in bed and I would hear something rumble upstairs. And my first thought was, oh, it's Thor. And I would roll over and I'm like, are both the cats down here? Because then I'm like, no, I'm like, oh my God, like the security system's gone, in that aspect. Because like we had moments that like something legit was going on and he was like, nah, dude, get back. Whether or not it was somebody that maybe got too close to the house that they shouldn't have, or like the weird one was on the back deck when there was nothing there. It was just stuff like that. So
I do remember that.
But no, it's been interesting because I think you even asked me, you're like, well, what's it like? And I'm like, it's not that different besides I just kind of walk around in my underwear a little more, so, but it's just, it's interesting,
I think the thing is that we kind of talked about this and I've talked about it on the lives before where you had the taste of it, and I did too, every other week because I would be gone at Meg's for 4 or 5 days. Mm-hmm. The fact of now it's just that we know that like after this I'm going home.
Right.
I don't just stand in the kitchen and then in an hour you might come up while we have a beer or something and do a 2-hour coffee or a kitchen talk. Mm-hmm. That doesn't happen anymore.
Right.
I'm done. If I need to edit something, I might, but then again, I go home. Mm-hmm. I don't even, it actually has been really odd for me to go on Twitch because I don't get to do the things I was starting to like become a norm like on the channel, which was like sit down and watch a movie or hang out and listen to music, which I still can do those things, but the setup is different. I don't have my Shure. I don't have my Rode. I don't have I can't hear myself when I talk. Mm-hmm. It's all through like gameplay or Xbox headphones and a microphone, so it's very different.
Which I will say that I think it is cool that they do give you a way that you can still stream. Which I didn't know that was even a thing. So,
I can still do those things, and I was even doing those things here. It was just I could flip to the other thing and be like, well, let's go watch Harry Potter and and then do this setup basically right here. Right, I can't do that now. So that's been a weird adjustment because I feel like I'm handicapped on like what I can do, which is a lie. It's just going back to the whole fact of when I'm done here, I leave. I don't just come here at 9 o'clock at night to watch a movie and drink beer because that's what I did. That's not right. I could, and that's fine, but that's not what I do now. It's it's your space, it's my space, whatever. Like there is, kind of like boundaries now. You know what I mean? Like in a weird way, like an unspoken way. Like we almost have these like boundaries now with each other that didn't exist 6 days ago.
Well, I think it's like I mean, we never had this, but it's kind of like like when you go to camp and it's like no, like everybody's changing in the locker room, everyone's like taking a shower, everyone's getting breakfast and dinner at the same or lunch and everything like that at the same time, things like that, where it's like. It is like that disconnect that we didn't have for a long time, where it was just like we just lived our lives and we happened to live with each other. So it was like it is weird. Like I like how you put that, where it's like there are boundaries, but it's like it's not in the idea of like, well, you better. It's kind of like no, it's just like this is no longer my home or this is not my home. So like even like when I stopped over on lunch or whatever, it was like that I had a limited amount of time, but it was like there was a time that it was like no, I gotta go.
Yeah,
So it's just it's that. that weird dynamic, even the night after the live, like I took you home, and it was like that moment of like, all right, well, pack up your stuff, like let's get this. It was very odd, like. Because I even remember talking to Crystal about it, and she was like, "Are you okay? Like, are you guys good?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, we're fine." It's like nobody cried or anything.
No,
but I'm like, it was very jarring. It was very different, and it was. I mean, it's all good things, but it's just one of those where it's kind of like, all right, let's just plop on the couch and watch. No, it's different, So it's like it's those, not like knee jerk things, but those like normal, habitual things that have become a norm where it's kind of like, no, those were temporary. And it's so weird to think of it like that.
Even though it was wild. 3 years.
Right. Yeah.
You're right. It was temporary. But like, I think that's the thing too, is I don't know if it's just not fully hit because of, maybe I do come because I come back here, or the fact of like, I am moving and doing a lot of stuff. Like I'm in the middle of trying to finish painting the bathroom and then getting the living room tightened up and then, put stuff in, and unpack stuff and then do all the lives and blah, blah, blah. It's like I only think about it when I stop doing the things with the house and go, fuck, I live here.
Right.
Like,
I get it. Yeah.
It's like, oh, I need to go to the house and edit. And, the daily routine is so different. And it's not that it is horrible. It's the fact of how much is going on around, plus needing to do the same thing and travel to do the things, or then not be able to just kick it as long afterwards, because I do want to go home to spend time with my family, even when Chandler isn't there.
Right.
It's not just when I had Chandler to spend time with him. That's just when I had time. But it's like this whole like just new life hasn't really hit yet, because it's just been like one thing after the other. And, and it's a good thing.
Yeah. Your mind is busy.
My mind is busy.
Yeah.
But it's like, I'm wondering when that other shoe is going to fall. And I'm like, fuck.
Yeah. Right. Like when everything is finally still, you finally have reached that place of normality, because it's like all you have really to associate with everything right now is that, like, not that anything's bad, but it's like, it's work. It's like your mind is active. You're being proactive. You're taking care of these things, and I think that it's something that, you and I both operate the same way, is that, I have to have my mind busy. It's with every reason, whether or not it's like, I don't really like struggle with the mental negativity, but it's like a lot of it, like how it shows up for me is like, the idea of, thinking about work and being like, oh my God, I hope I did that right. Or did I say something stupid today? And like, that's on my mind, it's like, or like missing my girl, or like, like thinking about like, oh, I've got this scary story project to do. I've got all this, like, being busy does help that. And it's like, it is when it stops where it's like, okay, like I'm able to now process and think about these things now that my mind is not focused on a goal that was in this moment. And I think that it's, is it a different rest than what we're used to? Absolutely. But I think that that if 4 year ago us could sit next to each other, in this room and just fill them in on what's going on and what happened, and it would be that moment of like, I know for me, I would look at it and go, that no, there's no way that's possible.
Right.
And it's that's what I try to remind myself of now, like when I struggle, or like, it's just like, there's good and there's bad days, of just like mental health. And it's like that mentality of like, nothing even has to be wrong, but it's like just reminding myself of like, nah, dude, like you've been handed the world here.
Yeah.
Like genuinely you have, and it wasn't, through, a straight shot of sperm. It wasn't with a silver spoon that was put in your mouth. It's like, no, like you earned this. You did this, and that's something that I know that I haven't even had the biggest achievements that you have had, with the incredible life things that have happened, and I give all the credit of that to God. I give that, through everything, I mean, we both do, it's just, this was not of our own doing. Like we had a hand in it, but there was a bigger force pushing everything, you know, and it's very mind blowing once you sit back for a minute and you're like, wow, this is where I'm at.
And I've done that a couple times where I have, left the new house or sat in the studio or, caught the plaque in the, the reflection of like the live or something or like whatever it is. It's like, whoa, like, man, did I really do that? And like, I don't mean it like that, guys, but it's just the fact of like, you sit there and think, like you said, tell 4 year ago us the fact of like, this would be happening. Like, no way. And, having a semi-successful YouTube channel and channels and, the person that I'm with, and then the fact of how I used to live and all this stuff, like there's drastic changes. And I think there a lot to do with the guy that I've shown you before, that's Scotty K Fitness, and he was saying something the one day about when he was quitting his job. But the point of everything was he said something along the lines on, I'm believing it for the first time in a long time. I'm believing in myself and I'm taking a chance.
Oh, yeah.
And, it just, I don't know, man. Like, a couple years ago when all this just started, it's like, well, why not? And it's like, well, what else do I have to do? Nothing. Like nothing.
Like literally, like guys, like YouTube is what has formed our lives now.
Yeah.
Like if you could have seen us before then, it was drastically different. Like there was
100%.
It was work and nothing but leisure. Like work throughout the day and then nothing but leisure at night, and then just like either. I know on my end was that it was like drinking till I passed out, and then I was able to like go to sleep, or it would be like, no, we're up late just talking about things or venting stuff out. Like,
because that's how we dealt with it, man.
Yeah, and it's the wild perspective of that, of just being like, wow, but it's like our lives are completely different now.
They are, and like that's the thing is, it's like I catch those things, or even like my Jeep or whatever. It's just like, whoa, man, like I never would have thought that I was supposed to be stuck in a loop. In a shitty relationship with nothing but stress in my life from that relationship on top of everything else, and just working a job I hated, didn't want to get up, didn't want to live anymore, like legit, like all of those things.
Yeah.
And then I sit there and throw a fit over something dumb, and I'm like, shut the fuck up, Eric. Look at where you're sitting in your studio.
Yeah. It's
or whatever. And it's
like crying in your Lamborghini.
Yeah.
The whole thing. Yeah.
It really is. It's like, oh, poor you. It's like, shut the fuck up. Do what you need to do. It's not that hard. Look at what you used to do.
Yeah.
And what you used to live like.
Yeah.
You don't have to do, you did it, man. You grinded, you did your thing. So, and like, even just with us, not living together, that was part of it, where eventually I wasn't going to live with you, but I thought I was going to build my own home. I had a plan. I had a thing. I had a legit 5-year plan, basically.
Right. And that's, because I know that for a fact that it's like like you showing up here was, I would say, like, and you can say, like, if I'm out of school saying this, but it's like, it was out of necessity. It was
for sure.
It was that moment of like, nah, dude, you're done.
Yeah.
You're done dealing with this. You're going to come live with me. I know my situation is fucked with everything I'm dealing with, but right now it's way better than anything you're going to deal with here, and it was very quickly decided on how we handled, finances, how we handled, all that stuff. And it was just that idea of that, I remember, talking to you, and it was like, you were like, look, man, I've got these goals. This is what I want to do. This, like, this is my, this was during the container home times, like when you wanted to build your home, that whole thing. But that's for anybody that wants context. You were going to build containers, like you were going to get all that stuff and try to build like a cheaper home and do something bigger. And I remember being blown away by it, because there were many nights that, we would just, sit down and you would show me some different things where you're like, oh, this is the kind of the design I'm thinking of. This is, with the double level or with the patio on top, or you could, completely abandon this and do whatever you want. Like, your creativity is your only limit. So, and I really liked that. I was really blown away. That was something that, I don't want to say it like this, but I didn't expect that from you.
Sure.
And it was just, I saw you driven at that point, and it was kind of that moment of like, nah, dude, like, use your money for the thing that you need to that you need to do and want to do. Right. And for this lifestyle that like most people don't even have the ability to be able to do for X, Y, and Z. It was like you have the ability to make your dream come true.
Yes.
And that was kind of the moment where like I know how I was with money at that point, and it was just kind of that moment like I kind of saw a reflection. I'm like, if I made that much money, I'm like, would I be able to save it? I'm like, I don't know. Like, it was just, but the crazy thing is that it completely changed in how like just how everything felt like fell together, because it was the like you being able to build your finances to the point of like, all right, I can seriously do something here, but now it's going towards this instead. I have this ability. I can do this. And it's like
when I had to go to court.
Right. And that's where I love like when I talk about like when like it's, you can say it when you look at like a sunset and be all sappy, but it's like that whole mentality of like, dude, I love watching God show off. Like,
sure.
Like, it's that moment of like, yeah, it's just it's that cool thing of that, that Sick Puppies line where it's like, I had a plan and it made God laugh, because it's like you were very laser focused on the things that you wanted, and rightfully so, because they do require a lot of focus, and like, whether it was the land or if it was, how much space you want, all that. But that money and everything that you saved during that time and being able to do that, it gave you something way better than a home.
Did. It did. I got my little girl.
It's just, dude, it's so great. And then, we talked about this last time too, but it's just like, being able to be reconnected with Alex again. And like, that was a thing that I know for a fact that being your brother and watching you go through that stuff when I was younger, in the small amount that we both interacted with him, obviously you got to interact with him more because, he was your, he was your kid, but in the same hand, it was just that thing of like, man, like I know that I had a few moments where I was like, God, I'm like, I don't know if I'll ever see Alex again, Same, dude. And it was like, and I know that like for me to have that thought is intense, as an uncle,
right?
But it is nothing compared to the man that brought him into existence, and it's like, I remember I've actually got it saved on my phone. I screen capped it. It was the text message conversation where you were like, dude, he's messaging me. And I remember like reading it, and a part of me was like, no, fake news. This is
fake news.
But no, like it was just, again, like there wasn't a lot of exchange between you and I, but it was this moment of, dude, I could just feel every emotion through that, where it was I'm excited, I'm nervous, I'm tense, I'm anxiety ridden, but I am relieved, and I feel like a part of me has died, but another one has just been reborn. Like every emotion across the board. And dude, it's just I've been very thankful in how you've been taken care of. And just in how everything has happened. Like it's just it's been I could beat it to death all night, but it really is it's so damn wonderful. It really is.
I think with, you saying the whole, like, like watching God show off, and I don't know if it was on the last one or what it was, but I know we were briefly talking about the fact of it's like first time, first times a lot of that happened here, and the fact of like what the journey and God showing off happened while being in this house. Not even just me, but like for the both of us together.
Sure.
Like, yeah, this is your home, but over the last 3 years, what has happened, that I've been here to witness or be a part of, or maybe even bring to your attention or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I kind of look at it in all angles, where it's like it is him showing off, but it is also like you were talking about that laser focus, because I don't know, with having that thought and motivation to want to build that home. I remember the day I looked at my bank account and I saw it, but I was like, now I have to not buy anything ever again.
Yeah.
But it's like I could buy almost 2 containers right now. And I knew I would make more money, but it was just the fact I saw it, right? And I think it was just one of those things with YouTube and everything, when you've always talked about the fact that I never take no for an answer, like I just don't let it happen. I think it was just inadvertently because the fact of I knew I could succeed, and I needed like almost like that boost of positivity to keep me going. And if I could run a successful YouTube, then it would work. Like that's how my mind works sometimes.
Right.
So I'm wondering if like that was part of the push was, all right, well, if I can do this, then I can do this over here.
Right.
you know, and also the keeping your mind busy and all that stuff. But, you know, just, you know, the fact of no matter what it is, I think that we both just had this mentality of being together, that we had this focus and this drive. And that did change how our lives are and how they are today, literally today, like having to come over here. That has been a wild ride that I have thought about. It was going to be about 5 years and moved out in 3 because, well, my plans changed again on how my life was going to be. But here we are and doing a podcast on it in another fucking studio in your home.
That's honestly the one thing that I have stayed away from the old podcast episodes, just because I'm like,
really?
I'm like, bro, like I've re-uploaded some out of necessity before and I regret it. But in the same hand, I'm like, God, these poor bastards. Like, I'm just like, every time I watch it, because it's always just like, I've got to make sure I had to have a topic for each one where it was like, no, we're going to talk about this tonight, you know, instead of just letting the conversation flow, things like that. But no, like it is like, it's nice that, you know, the content creating side of things has become secondary. You know, it's kind of like, no, it's like, just how do we make it happen? And, you know, I think that we learned a lot about what we can do, what we can't do, what we should do, what we shouldn't do. Like, I mean, it's just in the process of things. Cause like having that epiphany of, you know, going through the Falling in Reverse trilogy, you know, that was the very first night that we ever figured out we could do more than one. And it was kind of like, dude, like, I'm excited. Let's just keep going. You know, like it was just like, we were essentially like watching the puppies be born, you know, and it was so cool. So it's like, now that it's become normality, like I know that with where I'm at now and the things that I do, there's no way in hell I could learn and be productive at the same time, because it was like, you know, being productive like to my fullest like potential, you know, just because like there was so many hoops to jump through, there was so much like life stuff that was going on at that time, you know, and I think that's what is really kind of like mind blowing, like when we get, you know, the you know, like the positive feedback on things, like when people talk about, you know, how much our videos, you know, do this and this or whatever, and it's like, man, like it's, you know, all they see is just the reaction, you know, and that's, you know, and that's something that I love bringing attention to, where it's like, nah, dude, like, I mean, you know, Markiplier has been very open about his feelings and has done it in a very good way, but it's kind of like, dude, like, do you think that through the 3 months that he didn't post a video directly to, you know, his fans, that it's like he wasn't hurting or trying to like make these videos and trying to do everything? No, he did it because he loved it, but he also knows that it's important. You know, for like in a very strange way that we'll never understand. It's like, it's important to people, and that's just, you know, that's something that we always kind of, you know, fantasized about, and, you know, was always the, you know, mentality of like, I think you always, the way you said it was like, build our empire, build our, you know, bring our people. It's like, where's our people in the world, you know, and being able to have a place in that. It's, you know, it's something I never thought we would ever get.
I never thought so either. And like, that was the thing was, you know, even the last couple of days on lives, people have said stuff about, you know, oh my gosh, like I've been in the hospital, your guys' videos or the lives is what's been keeping me going, or I got hurt the other day, like I'm homesick or whatever. Like that's happened last couple of days. Or even just what somebody said, love your cadence and your flow on the videos. And it's like, thank you.
That is probably one of the biggest compliments someone can give. We've worked so damn hard on
100%.
That. Dude, that's, oh my God.
And like, that's where like I, like on Twitch and stuff like that, or no matter what platform I'm on, when I see somebody's like studio or like when they're live, if it looks good and, you know, you can tell, like, I don't care even if it's just good lighting, I will compliment it, because dude, I know what that means to people when you're like, dude, cool room, or, you know, I like your lighting, because they've thought and tried and trial and error and all this stuff. It takes a lot of time and effort, you know, so it's the same even with us when people still compliment the things in our room or how our videos look. It doesn't matter that we're 270,000 whatever deep, like that. Dude, that's important. Yeah. You know, and the fact that the audience and the people that want to watch still say those things, that's great. Like, that's the whole point, because if not for nothing, it is for us, but it's for them too. Like you need to want them to want to watch.
Yeah, right.
So to know that we have a good flow also with everything, that's another type of compliment, you know. And for me, being the one that does most of the editing and or how we kind of, I guess, form like, you know, the beginning and, you know, the intro and then even how we do the outro and stuff, like it wasn't just all in one day.
No.
And like, that's what I mean. Yeah. Like it is a big compliment when people say that, you know, that they enjoy that stuff because it's what we work hard on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're definitely not Rome. We were not built in a day.
No,
that did not happen, you know, and it's, you know, it's that, you know, tough thing when, like even last night when I went to dinner with some of the guys from work and, you know, one of them asked like, you know, well, hey, like how do you start what you did? You know, like how do you
stress?
Right. Yeah, seriously. Like, because I was also talking to some guys that they didn't have an understanding of what the algorithm really was and like how like you are a slave to the algorithm of like what you put out and what you do and what you say. And once I started to kind of peel back the curtain, it was kind of like, you know, like because they had this guy, one of the guys watches a channel and he was like, well, you know, how much do you figure that they made off of this video? Like, you know, from like a business standpoint, it was interesting to him. And, you know, I was like, well, I'm like, depending on this, and this, it could be this, and this. But I'm like, there are so many factors.
Correct.
Into that. I'm like, yes, like you have a, you know, non-copyrighted channel that is monetized. But in the same hand, it's kind of like, all right, well, I mean, what's their view count like? You know, it's like how much interaction, how long are their videos? Yeah. You know, it's like how many subscribers do they have? You know, and it was kind of weird to have that moment of talking with guys that have been, you know, in business for however long, and there's this element to, you know, to bring in revenue, like I'm sure like on their minds, like from a business side of things, but it's also like the, you know, connecting with people and like, you know, doing things correctly and all that. And I basically told them, I said, I'm like, when he asked me, how do you do it? I said, have you ever played slots? And he said, what, you mean like Vegas? I said, yeah. And he said, what do you mean? I'm like, that's what it is. It's luck. It's like, and now again, you could also say that there's blessing, you know, like that I would say that we have, but in the same hand is that, you know, nah, man, like it's just, you know, like to basically, you know, have that moment of like, I wish I could give you a solid formula. I'm like, we just did some shit.
That's what I tell people all the time.
It is what it is, you know. So it's wonderful that, you know, it's worked out the way that it has, you know, and it's just like, you know, I hate to even put content creating in that kind of a way where it's kind of like, well, you know, it's like you just got to keep pulling and keep hoping, you know, but in the same hand, like, it really is that. And that's, I think that's what's frustrating. And I think that's what separates, you know, the driven from the people that just thought that it sounded cool. You know,
exactly.
So,
and you know, I know we've talked about this a few times on here, but you're absolutely right in the fact of that's interesting that you were talking to people that were very much on like a business side and even maybe a little bit of social media and stuff, but them asking those questions and not even to be like a personal side, but just being like, no, how does this really work? Because I don't know. And you know, to like have them be floored by that because it's one of those, well, just make a viral video. Okay.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And it is kind of a like cliche answer. And I have to give the same thing a lot of times in the mornings on coffee time because people will ask that. And it's like, I don't know what to tell you. Be consistent, know what you want to do, and luck.
Yeah.
Like I that's really it because the luck is going to come there eventually if you keep consistently posting. I feel like it just might not be 1 million subscribers for you, but you might catch that wind for you eventually. But it's just, it is hard. And I wish, you're right, I wish I could give somebody the answer, but I think that's the thing is that there really isn't an answer because not everybody is supposed to be on YouTube or not everybody is supposed to be a musician or whatever it is. Like, that's where we talked the other day, and that guys that didn't mean it like that. Like, oh, we're made to do it. But like there is that factor almost on where we were talking the other day on coffee time, where the music industry, I think, sucks so bad anymore for all genres because everybody can make music now.
Yes.
You don't just have to go to a studio and know a producer and know somebody or have a shitty mixtape that you sell out of your trunk. Anybody can make music. Doesn't mean they should.
Yeah, and that's because I mean,
so I think it's the same thing with like social media as well.
Well, it is, and because it's it's the tough thing of that everybody has a voice, everybody has a way to express themselves, everybody has the ability to post whatever they want to, and I don't know, like it's something that has given me anxiety as a content creator. I mean, like not necessarily on the reaction side of things, but it's more so like when I've been doing like the scary stories, is that it's like there's already like 13 amazing people that do this.
Sure.
So it's kind of like, man, like I'm like, who
am I?
Well, it's like, do I have a presence in this?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, do I have a place in this? Like, is this something that, is like truly is entertainment for people that they like, that I bring something that other people don't? Cool. What is it? It's like, because I'm like, is it, sound effects? Well, people use sound effects. Is it, creating an environment? Like some of the best videos I've listened to have had, great audio and had these things like, especially like listening to like the Dark Somnium, where he has a longer video. I think it was a creepypasta, but it was called How to Survive in Hell. And it was a very different view of hell I'd never thought of before. And I'm like, this is fucking wild. And it's like, just like the idea of like you wake up in your embryo sac that you can break out of, but if you are not physically able, good luck, you're going to be drowning in fluid for the rest of your eternity. So it's like, so it's like only the physically able are able to like, so it's like, it like tapped into my psyche in a way that I'd never heard before, but it was like the ripping sound of like him breaking out of it and catching his breath and landing on the ground and like all that stuff, where I'm like, there are people out there that are doing incredible audio work.
Yeah.
And they're doing wonderful things with the platform that they've been given. And it is tough because it's like, man, like, I'm like, should like, not in the defeatist way, but it's like, man, like, I'm like, should I keep going? Because like, dude, like they've got this covered.
Right. Like they've got it manned. Yeah.
It's like how many metal bands are out now?
Exactly.
How many rappers are out now? Where and it's not to say that all of them don't have talent. There are people that have 10 followers that probably deserve to be in a top 10 place.
100%.
But it's that hard thing of like, how much can you push it? How like does it come down to like, the amount that you can promote it and that you can do this? Like, not being able to have that defeatist moment of finding your tape in the toilet of one of the clubs that you're in, of like having that, like that whole mentality. And it's like being able to push through even like in spite of that,
right.
Even like the people that influence music that were oppressed, where it's like, no, dude, they kept fucking going, and there is like an element to that is kind of lost now because, it's like all we had, I don't mean this the way it sounds, but it's like all we had to do was post a reaction to Dirty Diana.
Yeah.
And stop gaming.
And throw us in the algorithm.
And it's tough. Like I want to give as much of my time of my day to anybody that's making content because I know for a fact how fucking hard it is.
Correct.
But in the same hand is that like I've had videos before, like even I talked about on the live today where I found somebody that had a decent thumbnail and I went, oh sweet, they did this one Sleep Token song. Awesome. And I got on it and dude, it was almost like 7.5 minutes before the reaction started. And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, I can deal with 3 to 5. Like if your banter is funny, like I get it. Not everybody is wired like we are. And I understand that. But in the same hand, I'm like, I skipped past your video just to get to it. And I didn't even like the way that you reacted to it when I got here, and it's like, that's like, I know that like we only know how to do what we do, and I do hold in high regard what we do because I think we do have a well-oiled machine. But there's a line of, well, they just don't do what I do, and then to the point where it's like, dude, like you either got to tighten this up or you need to find something else.
Correct.
And I hate saying that. I hate feeling that way. But it's like, damn, dude.
But see, I think that's also where people need to understand constructive criticism as well. Mm-hmm. Not everybody can take it. Like you could maybe even message that person and tell them those things and be like, look, I'm not trying to, like do your own thing, but like, here's my advice. And I know that we don't like when people do that to us either, but there's also, I feel like some kind of a difference.
It's also easy to tell when somebody's being a jackass. Or when someone's like, look, dude, I love the video, but
correct.
This and this,
And like, that's another thing too, is that, with how, like you kind of just said it, where it's like, well, how do I get people to watch or click or whatever? Haley was talking about today about how our videos run, how even the cadence and stuff, where it's like, she's like, I watch you guys and Knox Hill. I watch Knox Hill for more of like lyric breakdowns. And I was like, well, not that we don't, but I was like, my thing is that we don't, if we broke down lyrics, it would be a 30-minute video each time.
We would be there all night.
And it's like, we can, and that's who we are. But on your side, and the fact of like being able to break down the actual music part and then us both doing lyrics, I don't want a 30-minute video. First of all, I don't want to edit that video. I don't want to do 6 of those videos in one night. And then also people watching it. Our cadence and flow is in the fact of, I've always stated, you can watch it on your lunch break and still have time left over.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, I get it. Like, I get your pacing is very different for a good reason. And I think that's the other thing too, is people don't know, they have this like ambition to do things. And like you said, where it's like 7 minutes, and then even the reaction wasn't the greatest, where it's like, okay, if you tighten it up, then you can do these things over here and people will come over. Yeah. It doesn't matter what you do. Everybody has their own agenda in their head, but if they can't adapt to the algorithm correctly, it's not going to be successful. And I think that's maybe the biggest way to explain it, is that you have to be adaptable to the algorithm. Yeah. Because if not, and you can do what you want to an extent, because I've had friends go, it doesn't matter, just do the Whit Lowry songs.
No, that's not how that works.
Well, you like it, don't you? Yeah, but that's not the point, man.
Well, especially too, like, because people are so easily, like, they throw views out like they mean nothing.
Correct.
And again, because like I hate like when people are like, it's like, oh, I only got this many views or that. It's like, my thing is never like, our thing like rather is like never been like, oh, we didn't get our 100,000 views. What the fuck? Like, no, like, because we even talked about it like kind of on the Damage Control Live, where it was like, guys, like, we should be asking for 10%, for 10,000 likes or whatever. Now, what's funny is that it's even like seeing like how the algorithm is, and just like even with bigger channels, where like I think I was watching somebody review like video game stuff or whatever, because like a bunch of PS5 Pro stuff came out this week that was like, it's fucking bullshit what they're releasing and like how it's happening.
Yeah, PS5's done.
Because even like somebody as a PlayStation guy that has they have my undying allegiance. That's something that when I was watching it, a part of me was like, okay, this is the pro version. Give me like what's going on here. Like give me like the just give it to me straight, Doc. Give it to me. Now I'm glad that they gave it to me and they were honest. But it's still like, no, I'm not paying $700 for something that doesn't even have a disk drive. So
yeah, man.
It's like even the fact that it like the stand that you have to get for it to be vertical for proper airflow and all that stuff, where it's like that's $30. Like it's just all this stuff. And I was like, all right, I'm done. I've got my PS5. I'm good. Like, thanks to you, I have it. So, but anyway, all that being said, I remember, just taking in everything, and it was just this. I think I totally lost where I was at. What was I talking about?
I don't even remember. It was the fact. It was the fact of the PS5. You were watching somebody talk about. We were talking about pacing on videos.
Oh yeah. So it was just like it was seeing like how everybody was going about it, and it was just that mentality of like, oh fuck, like this is surging up, this is coming out now, like it's just out there, it's just like fuck, like it just.
Well, see, and I also feel like, again, even with pacing and so like, how long was that video?
Oh, it was probably like maybe like a 12-minute video, give or take.
Okay.
So I remember where I was at now. Okay. So because likes, that's what it was. You guys get to see the raw deal. There's no editing. No, it was basically the idea of like asking for like the 10% and everything, but in the same hand, it was just like, oh my God, like this guy that has over 400K subs is only asking for 1,500. And I was just like, fuck. I'm like, God, so like when we get 1,000 likes on a video, that's a big fucking deal. Like with how the algorithm is and everything. So like now again, like that's also a different sector of YouTube that's not reaction. So
sure.
Yeah, I can't believe I couldn't find my thought on that. But regardless, like it was just, dude, like that was kind of the moment that I realized where I'm like, wow, like shit really isn't that bad.
Sure.
Like even if we don't meet our 1,000 like goal within the first 8 hours, we usually do eventually get to that. where it's at least 1% or less or whatever is still engaging, so it's a delicate balance.
I think the thing is, though, we've talked before where it's just like, damn, I can't believe we talk so much about this, like analytics, but like, this is why, guys. But it's like, I can't believe that even asking for that little over percentage is a big deal, and the fact of like, well, if you guys do like it, how is it that there's 63,000 views on this, but 1,500 likes?
Right.
I myself fall in that category sometimes where I forget to, but it's like,
yeah. And I feel like shit every time I forget to do it. I go back and try to find it if I remember.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But my thing is that many people forgot, like that's just where I'm at with it too, where it's like, dude, come on. But again, I'm also in that category because no matter what, if it starts off and something is good, I'm like, no, like it right now, Eric, because you're going to forget. But it is wild that, that channel was only asking for that many and it's almost the same percentage. But I still think it's kind of wild that we and other channels don't get even that much of a percentage out of their, I guess, subscriber count. But, then what is it with the analytics then? Is it the view duration? Is it the commenting? Is it, like all of the above? But still, it's like, then what's the thing keeping it afloat?
Yeah, I think
like that's where it's like we don't know how to give people an answer on what to do for YouTube.
I think that where we have kind of been able to survive through everything, because I mean we've touched on it a couple of times, but December and January of last year was awful. It was just like that was the only time that like I never thought about quitting, but there was a part of me that thought like, oh my God, we're gonna post stuff and nobody's gonna see it.
Yeah.
Like that it was dwindling down to that point.
It's gonna happen again. I'm preparing for it.
Which I mean, because even like Brent's talked about that, where it's like, like his main demographic are like kids that are in school. So it's like the idea of like, okay, well, when school's out, summer's very hot for him, where it's like, okay, like, there's a lot of traffic that's happening on his videos where it's like, okay, cool, like, you're getting these views, you're getting these likes, you're getting the interactions, you're getting the reposts, all that stuff. So it's like we've kind of learned that it's, holidays and like even like with Good Mythical Morning doing like the whole like we don't upload on Thanksgiving. And if we do, we don't do anything, where it's like you guys have spoken. You do not show up. So it's like it's kind of, trying to find, where like what's our role in it? How do we do it? And, then also it's like what do we do to keep people, interactive? But in the same hand, I think that we have such a big catalog on Riker Road that like there are plenty of journeys or plenty of, like nuggets of things that people can watch and be like, oh my God, like I found Sleep Token through you. And it's like, I watched every single one. Like even like I saw the other day, somebody put a playlist together of their own it was all of our NF reactions. And
really,
and I remember scrolling down because I can't remember what I was watching. I may have been like watching one of our videos to like comment on it or whatever to like help the algorithm. But it said 88 videos. And I remember looking at that and I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, have we really done that much NF? Like, is it really 88?
Dude,
like,
okay.
Now, again, maybe there's other people's reactions in there, but it's so like, I don't know if it's because I'm pretty sure it said Riker Road NF reactions. So it would just be exclusively our videos. But like, it kind of like made me sit back where I was like, fuck.
Well, we did all of his songs, so he's probably got 88 songs.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably not far off.
Yeah, and
it's wild.
It's just knowing that it's like people are still, there's still traffic on those videos. There's still stuff that happens. So I think that's kind of like been our cheat code. And then also like going live and different things like that has been the way that things have been. Yeah, that has been helpful. But I mean, again, like we've got friends that are in this that it's like they're struggling, or like we've had like even like Ron was like, nah, dude, like I was happier once I let go of doing reactions because like this is where I'm at in my life. And this is what I'm doing, and it's like, it's because we kind of like him and I kind of talked about it the other night. We were talking music stuff and he was just like, look, man, he's like, I would love my efforts to be put towards making music. And, like, that's what I want to do in my free time. I have a job that I enjoy what I do, and it's like, we're in one place, it's like, we're not traveling anymore. So it's like,
right.
So like, I think that, everybody's, presence is different. And I think that, there's always that mentality of like, all right, I will cannonball in for a little while. I'll go deep. And then decide that if I can grow gills and be here, I'll be here. But if not, I'll come up for air and I'll go back down until I do. It's until I acclimate to this and I find exactly what I'm going to do. And it's just I'm very thankful that the gills that we have are, maybe they're not the biggest, but it's like we've been able to stay where we are and, still figure things out. And it's a scary analogy because I hate the ocean, but in the same hand, like it's very mind-boggling when we still see growth, where it's like, like views have, dropped, but it's like people are still subscribing. And
sure.
And that's the part that's really interesting, is that it's like, oh wow, okay, well I guess we are doing something right, so that's at least nice. So
agreed, and I think that's been the biggest thing, throughout all of this and all of this change, and just me needing to focus on certain things and get back in the swing of things on the channel or Patreon and stuff. But the biggest thing has been, okay, this past week or two, views, subscribers, Patreon, all this stuff has either stayed the same or even kind of gone up a little bit.
Sure. Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, the change didn't change anything.
Yeah.
So it's, and I've said before, I argue that we actually now, with how the move is, may actually be able to get more things done.
Yeah.
Because of my significant other and I living together and the situation and how far I live, and then somebody being able to watch Chandler if I need to and all this. It legit actually, I think, opened up more so once we get settled.
Yeah.
On how things can be done and progressions can be on other channels and even just with what we're doing. But I think that this has been, like I said, it'll hit me, I think, hard enough soon. I just haven't had enough time to really stop, other than when I sleep at night.
Yeah.
So it's coming. Well, it's coming.
It'll probably end up happening during a fire. It's like, or when you're when you think oh, I got to go back inside and grab another beer.
Yeah,
and come out here and relax and sit down, and it's, because again, I've had my moments here and there, but I don't think that it's completely hit me yet. I think that when I start making the studio upstairs and start doing stuff, that's probably going to be the big moment, because it's I've got goals, I've got plans, I got things I desperately want, all that stuff, and it's I
got to build my studio too, man.
Right, and it's so it's just this wonderful adventure of that, it is exciting because it's kind of it's we have our own, we have our own domains, we have this, so it's but it's we do things on our own, but this is what happens when we come together,
right.
and that's the cool part, and it's especially even tonight before we got started, it was even being able to play in that realm of hey man, do you want to bust something out real quick, or do you want to do it's, again, it doesn't have to, but it's it's no longer the mentality of well, fuck, I better, because I'm not going to be here this weekend. It's kind of well, no, we can take care of this and do this.
Yeah, I'll stop over on Sunday. Yeah,
right. It's those things where it's kind of
exactly.
Shit, it's much more relaxed. It's
correct.
It's one of those that I think that if we fail, that dude, we had to try to fail. You would absolutely have.
We
to
went
try.
through so much more loops and bullshit when I wasn't living with her than I went no fucking way.
Yeah, and
no fucking way.
I love the certainty. I love where everything's at right now. I'm excited for just with the podcast and everything too, getting to reach out to people and get back into that groove, whether or not it's having Lee on again and being able to hang with him, or just reconnecting with Christina and being hey, how's the voice acting thing going? Where are you at? Or finding new people, even having the Merkins back on, and maybe hopefully having him sit right next to you.
That'd be sweet.
It's stuff like that where I'm interested to see what's going to happen when the candle truly gets lit and when everything does happen. So I am very much in a transitional period, but I am excited. I'm encouraged. I feel safe in every single way, and I'm just ready for it. I'm ready.
Hell yeah.
I'm ready for all of it. So
hell yeah.
But nevertheless, guys, it's awesome to be able to be back doing this, and just to be able to bring back this consistency and just being able to have the conversations that you guys love to watch for whatever reason. We appreciate you guys being here. It means the absolute world to us, and thank you for your patience during this time as we've been, life changes and stuff like that. We've been able to take care of our stuff and just, do what we're doing. So with that being said, as always, Eric, is there anything you would like to tell them before we sign off until the next time?
Don't move. It's stressful. Cheers.
We'll see you guys next week. Adios.